Hello and welcome. You're watching UATV News with me, Ksenia Bugay. First, these are the latest developments from Ukraine. Almost 14,500 people have recovered from COVID-19 over the past day in Ukraine, and 4,383 contracted the disease. More than 2,000 Ukrainians were hospitalized with complications. The majority of all new cases are in Kyiv as well as in the Zaporizhia, Kharkiv, Kyiv and Odessa regions. In total, since the beginning of the pandemic, almost 1,200,000 cases of COVID-19 have been identified in Ukraine. More than 900,000 have recovered. Ukrainian sailors rescued in Turkey have returned home. 5 crew members of the dry cargo ship Iryna, which sank on January 17 in the Black Sea, flew to Odessa. The sunken cargo ship belonged to a Ukrainian company. There were 10 Ukrainians and 2 Russians on board. 6 people were rescued. 5 of them are Ukrainians. 3 crew members, including 2 citizens of Ukraine, died. The search of 3 more sailors continues.
To conduct search of the missing sailors, the Turkish authorities attracted the Coast Guard ships of the naval forces as well as helicopters. The search is complicated by the harsh weather conditions. Turkey also plans to attract divers to study the shipwreck. As for the rescued Ukrainian sailors, they returned to Ukraine with the assistance of the Ukrainian embassy.
Following the protests, scandals, and Donald Trump's stubborn reluctance to admit defeat, the 46th President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris have sworn the oaths of and entered their offices. For the first time, the inauguration takes place with unique security measures. The Capitol and the White House are fenced by barriers. One can only get to the ceremony with tickets. More than 20,000 soldiers guarded the Capitol on the ceremony and the new American leader. See in our next story.
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
Office of President of the United States.
Joe Biden is sworn in as the 46th President of the United States.
This is America's day. This is democracy's day. A day of history and hope, of renewal and resolve. Through a crucible for the ages, America has been tested anew, and America has risen to the challenge. Today, we celebrate the triumph not of a candidate, but of a cause, the cause of democracy.
Counter to tradition, the 45th American President Donald Trump was not present at the inauguration ceremony. However, in his farewell speech, he did mention the new administration. Though not saying a word about his successor, ahead of leaving the White House, Trump threw a nod that this is not the last time he meets Americans as president. It was a great honor of a lifetime, greatest people in the world and the greatest home in the world. I call it a home. We've had an amazing 4 years, we've accomplished a lot, we love the American people, and again, it has been something very special. And I just want to say goodbye. Hopefully, it's not a long-term goodbye. We'll see each other again. Thank you all very much. Trump left Washington 4 hours before the ceremony. Usually on this day, American presidents vow greetings to their successors at the White House and join the ceremony in the Capitol. But this time, Trump has pointedly refused to invite Biden's. The president-elect had to get to Washington for his inauguration by charter, although by tradition the incumbent president sends a Marine One helicopter to take the president-elect. But the Marine One board was occupied by Donald and Melania. However, Biden is not the first president who had to get to the Capitol by his own. One of the US presidents even reached his inauguration destination by foot.
Look at Marines.
The 46th President of the United States turns 78 this year. This is a record for American presidents. Experienced politician, member of the Democratic Party. He was the Vice President of the United States. He is the second Catholic president in the U.S. history.
May Almighty God have mercy on us, forgive us our sin, and bring us to...
Due to the quarantine restrictions, there are no large crowds of spectators by the Capitol. Across the country, Americans are watching the presidential inauguration ceremony on TV. Only Congress officials stand on Capitol Hill. 200,000 flags were raised there. Reported by Vadim Kramer, Nick Starkov and Roman Smoler, UATV News.
Unlike Russia, Ukraine has fulfilled all the necessary conditions to hold the next Normandy summit. This was stated by head of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, Linde. At the same time, she ruled out the OSCE joining the Normandy format. The organization is focused on work in the Minsk trilateral contact group. She also noted that the OSCE is trying to help establish peace in Donbas.
We will, of course, continue to follow the OSCE principles of full sovereignty, full integrity, independence of Ukraine, and that is including the Autonomous Republic of Crimea and Sevastopol.
Ukrainian authorities are preparing a Donbas restoration plan. According to Minister for Reintegration of the temporarily occupied territories, Oleksiy Reznikov, the plan would consist of two elements. The first one is the draft law on principles of the state policy during a transition period. The document provides for the temporarily occupied territories would become the regular Ukrainian regions, again with 25 years. The second element is a 10-year strategy for economic development of the Donetsk and Luhansk regions. The government has approved its concept in December 2020.
The plan's task is to elaborate the instruments of strengthening the territorial communities in order to turn the depressed and subsidized regions ruined by the war into a pillar of the state. Ukraine has to understand everything that puts its development on hold is evil. Those who are guilty should be brought to responsibility, while the amnesty should be declared whenever forgiveness is possible. It's not an easy path, but we have to follow it.
Volodymyr Zelenskyy honored the memory of servicemen fallen away for independence of Ukraine. The names of 51 defenders who were killed between 2015 and 2020 have been announced during commemoration ceremony which took place at the Ministry of Defense. In particular, they paid tribute to 48 military men who died while defending the Donetsk airport in eastern Ukraine. Volodymyr Zelenskyy laid flowers at the memorial bell. The ceremony was also attended by the head of the Office of the President, Minister of Defense of Ukraine and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces.
Ukrainian soldiers on the front line prove every day that neither the armed provocations of the enemy nor the severe frosts will force them to retreat from their land. Every day we thank them for the peaceful sky over our cities and villages and remember the names of those who died defending the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine.
Hungry, freezing and absolutely helpless during severe frosts, there are more than 9,000 homeless animals in Kyiv. Volunteers decided to help them. Our correspondent have joined them and has a report for you.
Only a miracle saved these puppies from death. When there was 20 degrees below zero in the night, someone left them in a box near the shelter.
The puppies were left in a box near the shelter. A cardboard box was found in the wood. People who brought them here have at least given them some food.
Head of Kyiv City Animal Shelter says that there are 400 adult dogs and 10 puppies in his center. There are not only mongrels here, but also elite breeds. But this does not grant them privileges. Everyone has the same food, twice a day. During the severe frosts, their diet was diversified.
We give them food twice a day. In the morning, they have some porridge with meat, and in the evening at 3 o'clock we give them dry food.
Feeding a dog in time is perhaps the main rule of saving it in harsh circumstances. This zoo car has been routing around the city, and one won't find it in the city center. This route is laid across the industrial zones of the capital.
If a dog just lies on the ground for several hours, it would catch the frostbite. Of course, the dogs have an instinct for self-preservation and they start moving, walking in search of food. But you understand that when the everything is freezing, it is very hard for an animal to find any food. Yesterday we checked 4 locations. Today we plan one more. Only yesterday we fed about 150 animals.
There are more than 9,000 homeless animals in Kyiv. A lot of them are not likely to survive winter because of the frosts. Therefore, volunteers ask everyone to let animals warm up in entrance halls of the houses and feed them if possible. Reported by Nick Starkov, Inna Mazurkevich, UATV News.
Adults also play dolls. Iryna Ivakhnenko from Kyiv has been making ball-jointed dolls for 10 years. The woman invents the characters either by herself or according to customers' requests. She sews clothes and makes furniture as well. Our journalist visited the doll maker.
This is Askar, the fairy tale character Iryna saw in her dreams when she was 8. She managed to realize her dream only 8 years ago, when she became a sculptor of the ball-jointed dolls.
Here are 60 centimeters plus the horns and a bunch of ball joints. At that time, I had to figure out how to cut some joints into hinges, especially the head part, or how to make an incision correctly along the neck so that it looks beautiful and the way I want to look.
Earlier, Iryna used to craft dolls from wood and sewed clothes for them. Now she orders the doll body abroad, and the faces are made in China. Iryna only designs a general look. She makes hair wigs and dresses the doll. Her best models are historical costumes. This Turkish woman with the face of actress Natalie Portman is dressed in natural silk.
I'm pretty good in this craft. I can distinguish a 15th century dress from a 13th century dress, depending on the region. This theme of the Middle East is not very popular, but it turned out to be in great demand after all, and there are only few masters who make such costumes.
This character is a forest ranger. Iryna made a prototype of the actor Chris Hemsworth and even made weapon a functional crossbow. Such dolls are in demand all over the world. Adults come up with characters, stories and make photo sessions. In addition to large dolls, Iryna makes forest animals as well. Foxes, hairdressers, raccoons, carpenters, mice, frogs and chipmunks. She also made a house for rodents, as well as furniture and models of vegetables. Reported by Nick Starkov, Inna Sazanina, UATV News.
That's all for now. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. More updates on our official website, YouTube and Facebook pages.